Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Make some adjustments here. How's everyone doing? Hey, Diginanigans. All right, let's pick some different music here. And let's get going. We got a lot of game to dev here. I got some coffee left, which is nice. I actually didn't totally finish my breakfast, which is less nice, but I still have the coffee. Ooh, they added some music to this radio. Let's see what we get today. This used to be like 30-something hours. Now it says it's 42 hours. Let's see what kind of new stuff we get. Hey, Arneo, what's up? Perfect timing. You're going to solve how canvas layers work? Nice, yeah. Canvas layers are weird. I get confused by them all the time. I actually haven't totally come around to like Godot control nodes and all that stuff. I can barely figure it out for my crazy tile map layer stuff. But yeah, we're also going to be working on some stuff. I set up, so this is our JSON file, which I realized you can just open in the Godot engine, which is great, in this little script editor. A little more annoying to try to open in Writer because Writer, I don't have Writer set to show all my project files right now, and I don't remember how to turn that back on. But I kind of prefer this anyway. Seeing non-solution files can be super distracting. So yeah, we can just pop in here if we need to look at our JSON file or any other little text file we have. So we have a bunch of stuff in here. We have all these different arrays along with a little bit of header data. And we've got them all. This is all the mapping. So to kind of remind everyone what we got going on here. So what this describes is how these pieces of our tile set atlas. So this is our tile set atlas. That's got all our new outlines and stuff on it. Our JSON file describes how these map onto this, which this isn't anything particular. This is just a representation of how our autotiler thinks about these, because our autotiler does this process where they pick an atlas coord that's a combination of the X position and the Y position, And so this is just a representation of all the unique tiles in that two-dimensional array. And so we're storing the mapping from this to this in an array in a JSON file that we're calling the like default atlas format. I might set this up to be like a texture specific format, but right now it would be weird to have more than one kind of format. So right now this is just going to be our default format. You can see the vectors here that map to our atlas coords, and they're just arrayed as they would be if you were to map them directly onto the textures. Diginanigans, you got a lot of weird UX stuff in the Godot interface. Oh, there is a lot of weird UX stuff in the Godot interface, in your opinion. It makes sense why it's there, but it could be more intuitively arranged. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, the better you understand it, the more simply you can express it. Like, I find that like the better I get at the control node stuff, the more simple my UIs become, because like initially you're like, how do I do this? And you're like, oh, you nest this with this, and like you do that and that. You do all this stuff and you make this crazy complicated UI, and then someone's like, well, you could have just put one of these there instead. And it's like, yeah, I'll do that next time. So yeah, I feel like it takes a lot of understanding of how the Godot UI works to make something simple, which is kind of points to its lack of intuitivity. Intuitivity? Is that a word? Hey, Nix. How's it going? Happy Tuesday. All right. Anyway, so we've got this JSON file with all these arrays. Last night during my Monday night game dev co-working little group meetup, I set up a JSON deserializer, which wasn't that hard. I set up a little really dumb, like most basic possible vector-to-I converter. So I'm trying to convert these to our custom vector class, our own little vector-to-I class. So I had to make a little converter. This doesn't feel like a terribly performant thing, but I'm gonna not think about it because I don't think we're gonna use JSON a lot. I think a lot of our serialization is gonna be binary. And I think we can do it a little differently. But this was the easiest thing to set up, so I just set this up. And so now, when we load everything up... Nix, you're making a new RimWorld mod? Oh my god. What's the mod count so far? Let's get that updated mod count. So, how does this work? Okay, so so for simplicity's sake, we have an export variable in the game node. Just so I can take the game node and I can point to where the default tileset atlas format is in the resource folder. Eventually we want like some kind of dynamic asset loader thing that goes through. I think we'll have a mod folder in like the user resources, and that will include the base assets. And we'll have a system that goes through and reads that and reads in things like this, like the default tile map format. Or tile set atlas format. I'm like never gonna say that correctly. But right now we're just hard coding it because we've only got the one and whatever. But the intention is to make that maintainable. So we've added a kind of weird little assets object onto the game that's gonna just store the deserialized version of that default format. If we ever have to have multiples, we'll figure that out. I think eventually we will. Or at least we'll need support for different formats. So when we are ready, the game just deserializes and reads this file. Unfortunately, globalized path is not something that we can use in a build. Should actually put it to do here. Actually, I should put it to do here. Well, I don't know. I'll put it here. To do project settings dot globalize path will not work in a build. Will only work in the editor. A lot to do. There's something I need to swap this with. Let me go look at the docs here. There's like an OS specific call we can do. Say project settings dot globalize path. I don't remember where this was. Globalize path. This is, I don't think this is the globalize path. File paths and Godot projects. You got 480 next. 480 is the mod count. Only 20 away. Yeah, you're gonna get to 500 mods pretty quick. Certainly quicker than I get to 500 followers. Diginanigans, you don't know about C# specific implementation, but parsing JSON is highly performant in general. One of the main reasons it's used in so many places. Where it suffers slightly is if you need to act on a large data set as it's streaming in, because you don't necessarily know the final shape of your data until you get the closing tags. There are a few clever tricks though if you need that specific functionality, especially if you know the shape of the data being parsed ahead of time. I feel like we don't have that exact problem with the basic use case for C#, because with C# we can just say JSON serializer.deserialize and we can pass in a type. So I've made a little tileset atlas format type, and that type just tells you all of the data we expect in one of these files. So I think it's okay. The thing that I am thinking of is, I think stuff like this, like config file stuff, I think I'm okay with storing it in JSON. I think I'm thinking about stuff like ship builds and like other things that don't need to be like human readable. I'm thinking those things don't need to be JSON. I think we could just serialize them into a binary format and just define how that goes. But anything that we want like a human readable text file for, we'll definitely do that with. So probably a lot of scenarios and like textual resources stuff will probably be saved that way. I just don't think we'll use it for everything, but maybe we will. Maybe we'll be lazy. Yeah, I don't anticipate there being a huge performance issue. We can also stream stuff in asynchronously, but then yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it is. I did the JSON stuff last night because it has been so long since I've needed to do any of that. I was like, let me just do this, and then tomorrow, aka today, we can build out. So what we need to do now that we have this thing, this tileset atlas format thing filled up, now we need to build the dictionaries from the arrays. So we're going to do that. Hey, Rhiannon Journey. Yeah, we're very close to that, to the 500 mod count. I think you'll get there, Nix. I believe in you. So what do I want to do here? What do I want to do? I think I want some constants. Constant, integer. What are we going to call this? We'll call this like atlas coord max. Actually, maybe we make this a vector. No, it can't be a vector, can it? I don't think it can. I'm pretty sure it can't. No. Say Atlas chord max X. We could also say height, say length. How's it going? What are we working on today? We are continuing to work on incorporating our new tile set atlas. Last night, I set up a little format and a little deserialization process so that we can deserialize our format and read that in. And so now we just need the tile system to create some dictionaries that let us map these things. This is a really kind of scuffed way of doing this. It works okay if we only have one format that we support, but I'm thinking about how we might need different formats in the future, and a single ship might use multiple formats. In which case, I think I want to build out some kind of object that uses dynamic buffers to hold these and not use a dictionary. We'll see. What do I do with the... Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Or make some kind of formatter. I don't know. But we're getting close. We're getting close to being able to accommodate our new format. So an atlas coordinate. I don't want to use the word length. I think we'll say X. And we'll say... I actually need to look. What do we support? 16? 16 wide? Okay. We could say atlas coord width. $16. And we can say atlas coord height. We'll say length. Might actually change that here too. Oh, we just need to know the width here. Okay. 16. Height is 25, I think. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure the height of this is 25. Actually, that doesn't work for all of these, does it? Oh, dang it. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, this is going to get confusing. We're going to say bulk, map, height, width. Say bulk full, map width, 16. Bulk full, map height. Actually, we'll say length. No, we just need width. We don't need another height. Width is 16. How are you doing? How was your weekend? This is going to get super confusing very quickly. 4. So I'm describing conversions in 2 different directions. All right, so we got to build these out. I guess we'll just do this in ready. It's going to kind of be weird, but that's fine. So what do we want to do? So we've got our format. We have these, but these describe direction. So when we say tileset atlas format bulk full map width, we are referring to how wide is the region. How wide is this region in the atlas? And we know this here. I think it's 40. Oh God, I have to count. I don't want to count where the index is. So it's 12. Okay, it's 12 times 4, so it is 48. This is like 48. This is like 12. This is like... Is this also 12 or is this 4? I think I need to make this a little bigger here. DexC map width. I think we're going to do it like this. Unless it's exactly the same for both these, no. Yeah, we're not going to presume that they're the same, so we're gonna rewrite this a little bit. Weekend was okay. You did a bunch of chores. You didn't have a lot of time for any fun stuff. Aw. Yeah, we got a holiday weekend here coming up. I am very excited just to have some time to catch up on stuff like you're saying. All right, we're going to intersperse little headers. Well, they're not headers, they're more like footers because of how I'm ordering this. I don't know if I need XY variants. Is it Labor Day? You always forget what holidays are coming up. Yes, it is Labor Day. The day where we begrudgingly acknowledge the contributions of labor. With a holiday. Yeah, it should be nice. It should be nice. Public. All right, yeah, we're gonna be ridiculous about this because I don't want to make presumptions with this format. If there's a world in which these are different, I want to accommodate that possibility. So we're just gonna rewrite these. I'm just going to move this around a little bit here. Okay. Make sure this deserializes correctly real quick. Seems to be. Yeah, this was us dipping our toes into serialization here. We're going to need to dive in soon, though, once we start building ships. I've started playing with the layout of a ship design that we'll probably use a lot as a test bed. It's my idea for the ship for Lo-Fi Flyby, which is basically going to just be the Serenity. I've been watching, I have Firefly on Blu-ray, and I got a Blu-ray player recently, so I've been rewatching the show and just sitting in my couch with my drawing tablet, just trying to soak it up. In the way that Digital Iliad is very much Star Trek based in terms of its aesthetic design, Lo-Fi Flyby is going to be very Firefly. Hell yeah, you miss Firefly. It's been a long time since you've seen it. Yeah, it holds up. It's pretty good. I mean, I think everyone is kind of a little tired of like Joss Whedon style dialogue, but it's like one of the OGs, right? Of that sort of thing. So I think it gets a pass. You should watch Firefly. You should, Nix. It's really good. Yeah, I think it'll be really fun to go for that kind of space cowboy aesthetic. For that, we don't want to go crazy because we do want an aesthetic style that will transfer over to Digital Iliad, but I realize I haven't done one of these style guide drawings, like a finished piece like this, in a long time, and I want to do one for Lo-Fi Flyby here, so I've started working on that. And that'll be fun. We'll probably do a little bit of that on stream at some point. Maybe not today, but I want to get the layout done and then start to flesh out some art pieces. Maybe try out some different texturing styles. But yeah, I think it'd be nice. But today we need to build out these. So these can't be constants. Oh, these can be constants for the autotiler. So these are the autotilers versions of these. Do I need to know the others, or do I need to store them permanently? I hope not. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna read. We're gonna say tileset atlas format is atlas, or we're going to say assets. We're going to say game.assets.default tileset atlas format. Getting held up by these. Oh, it is nullable. Okay. I don't totally know how to tell the compiler that this is fine. I don't want to do that. Yeah, I want to suppress. Oh, why didn't that happen? I want to suppress the null warning. Oh, why did that go away? Okay. I think I accidentally made a change to my writer settings. Oopsies. Rhiannon Journey. You think I can mix the two aesthetics, the Star Trek and the Firefly aesthetic, pretty easily? The Alliance and Firefly has a much cleaner Star Trek aesthetic compared to everyone else. So you think it makes sense? Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, because we're definitely kind of leaning into like, we're acknowledging, or at least we do here. I think our little Firefly people have hair, but these are all like our little baldies. I might expand these to include hair. But yeah, we're very consciously leaning into like the kind of suit, like kind of awkward like space fascism. That's like the aesthetic value behind a lot of Star Trek, which is kind of awkward. But we're definitely leaning into that for this. So yeah, it makes sense that there would be more of a free alternative. There might be like another faction that's rejected a lot of this stuff. Yeah. Arneo, you're obsessed with the Firefly movie opening. It has this thing that it perfectly introduces every character along with the show's main premise in like 2 minutes. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's pretty good. Because it's two different openers. There's like the Simon River opener, which is like, it retcons it a little bit. It retcons their intro from the show, but I'm okay with that because it's excellent. And then yeah, it also showcases the rest of the crew. It's quite good. Yeah, I do like the opener of the Serenity film. All right, we're not going to worry about this right now. We are going to, and by this I mean this kind of nullable issue. We're just going to grab this because we know that it's going to be fine. I want to come up with a better process for incorporating these, but whatever. So now what we can do, excuse me, so we can go through. So I set these dictionaries to record an integer, which I think is dumb. It would definitely be easier, or it would be less space if I had the values being integers, but I think I want them to just be key. I think I want them to be vectors, because I just want to be able to swap one Atlas coordinate set for another, and I don't want to do all this math. So I think for simplicity's sake, we'll just do this for now. If we come up with a better storage mechanism where we put all this on like some kind of thing outside of the system that can handle like multiple different formats, we'll maybe take a different approach. But right now we'll just do this. In which case I actually might not need all of those header things that I was teasing out here. So what I want to do here, so I want to say for integer bx equals 0, bx is less than tile set atlas format dot bulk x full map dot length. Yeah, we're just going to assert that this is not null. Let's do that. That seems like a good temporary thing to do. Now we're going to process a bunch of these. What we're going to do is we're going to say bulk full xmap dot add. Actually, we can just say so the key is the value here, and then the value here. Okay, so how are we setting this up? So it needs to be a new vector 2i. New vector 2i. It's bx modulo tile set atlas format bulk x full map width. Random Journey, you know, I mentioned Joss dialogue. Who do you think is more overdone in dialogue, Joss or Aaron Sorkin? Oh, I don't know. That's tough. I think everyone's just kind of tired of the Joss dialogue, just because it got co-opted by Marvel to such an extent that it's just like everyone used to really enjoy it. It used to be funny. Now it's kind of been done to death. So it's probably worse just because, you know, Aaron Sorkin's dialogue is not, you know, quite as widespread. Right. So that's one of these here. So we just do this for each one. We just build a dictionary out of this array by flipping it. We take the value at this index and we make it the key. And then and then we take the index, divide it by the width, and that gets us, I think this works. Let's maybe let's test this real quick. Just see what we get here. We'll do a quick test for one of these. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely fallen out of fashion. Oh, we got a crash. Item with the same key has been added. Oh, key -1, -1. Right. We need to ignore those. We need to say if tile set atlas format dot bulk x full map bx is equal to vector 3i vector 2i dot 1 but negative vector 2i dot 1 continue. Yeah. Okay, so we've got our debugger info here. Let's test this against, where's Godot? There it is. Do a quick sanity check here. So 0, 0. 0, 0 gets mapped onto 0, 0. 1, 0, 1, 0. 2, 0. Oh. Yeah, this is right up until, let's look at 12.0, because 12.0 is where we're going to get interesting behavior. So the atlas coord, so we get the atlas coord 12.0 that maps us onto 8.0. Let's confirm that. So if the atlas coordinate 12.0, which is this little guy, so if we pick this one, that should map onto 8.0 here. Easier to see with groups. This should be it right here. No. Hold on a second. Oh, 12.0, that's this one. 12.0 is you. You map onto 8.0. Okay, that seems to work. Let's check one that has a y coordinate. Okay, 0.5 maps onto 0.1. Let's check that. 0.5, that's this one. So 0.5 is open left, open, I think it's open left. No, it's just open bottom here. Okay, open bottom says it should be 0.1. So 0.5 should be 0.1. Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks like we're mapping them correctly between the two different formats. Cool. Very good. All right, we just need to finish this. This might get put into like a function call or something. I put UA at the bottom here. What should we call this? Map. Oop. Map. Tile. Set. Atlas. Format. Tile set. Atlas. Format. Format. Okay, let's take this and move this down there then. Hey, Natsuka. What's going on today? Well, today we're pushing through and hopefully finishing the implementation of our new tile set atlas format. So we made this new tile set atlas format and we're just finishing hooking it up into the system so that the autotiler can read it, because it's pretty different from the old format. The old format we used was this. It's pretty simple. Doesn't handle a lot of cases, you know? The new one is a lot more fully formed. So we're just teaching the autotiler about it, which involves taking a kind of config file that we made that includes the map from... it's written as JSON arrays, and it maps from the actual tileset atlas format texture thing, this thing. It maps from this texture onto the autotiler system, which is this kind of format. And so now in the tile set, or now in the tile system, we are taking the map in that direction, and we're producing a map that goes the other direction, because we actually want the other direction, but that direction is not easy to represent in JSON. So now we're building that representation here. Should be pretty easy. I wrote a JSON deserializer little thing last night that is just pulling that file in and reading it into a custom object deal, which is this little format thing. Bulk X full map width init. Oh, are we not using this for anything? Or am I not assigning this correctly? Did I actually mess this up? Bulk X full map width. Bulk X half map width. No, it looks like we got it. Okay, weird this doesn't think it's being used, but okay. Oops, too far. Get rid of that. Don't need that. How are you doing? How's your weekend? Last time you saw, I was drawing the old format for the missing tiles, so now you have an even bigger tile set for each tile. You probably saw me drawing that, so it's probably, this isn't bigger than what you would have seen me drawing. You're going to have to draw a lot. No. So the nice thing is this format is pretty universal, I think. I actually think this format captures every possible use case for the autotiler. So hopefully this format is established. The only thing I'm probably going to do for now is make versions of this that are recolored, because our texturing is very flat right now. So I don't have to worry about textured variants. Eventually, once we start making more of these and we make them in weird shapes and stuff, we're going to have a tool. I want a tool that does something like this sort of thing. Is this it? Yeah. I want to have a tool where you can basically draw out the layers, the outline layers, so you can be like, here's an outline. Here's an outline. Here's an outline. Here's a given outline. Here's like another one. And have a thing that, so you can draw something like this and then output. Either have like a shader do it, or what's probably more likely is have some kind of program that, some little mini program that takes all that information and does the combinatorics for us. Because the problem is the combinatorics of all those different things. And yeah, if an object has a different texture for every one of these, there's really no getting around having to draw them. But I'm hoping at least for simple cases we can automate it pretty well. An alternative way we thought about doing it was about encoding it as like bit flags. So having something like this, where you're using the color channels to tell you, to describe where the outlines are. This is also an option. I don't like this as much, but it's definitely an option as an alternative to doing it by layer. I like painting out the specific layers, almost like a masking kind of thing. But yeah, we're gonna avoid having to hand draw these as much as possible. Great stream, thanks Pheasant. Take it easy. But my position is, if I'm going to do something like that, if I'm going to create those assets initially, I should just do it. Do it at least once. And then once we start doing it more often, come up with a system, come up with a workflow that saves us time. But our initial set's pretty limited, so that should make it easier for now. But how are you doing? How was your weekend? Almost out of coffee. Starting to get to that temperature where it's like almost not worth drinking anymore. All right, so if format is, so if it's a null tile, I'm having to represent null tiles by -1, -1, which is fine. If it's not negative, then we just add it like this. And then we can basically repeat this for all the other versions. Let's say variable by equals 0. Oh, bx. You say like bx f. And this will be bxh. At least the autocomplete actually understands what I'm doing for once. Okay, now it seems to be broken. Bulk x half map bxh new. Maybe if I wrote this as a single line, it would be able to figure it out. Say format bxh. Okay, no, it seems to not know what we're doing right now. Nope, now it does. Okay. It knows how to make the vector at least. Just something. Night's good. It's been a good week for you. You started writing a software 3D renderer in Odin to learn about graphics programming. Ooh, that's super cool. That's really cool. Projections and matrix are not your thing. Algebra is too hard. I'm struggling with the matrix thing right now. We support camera rotation, which if you can imagine in a 2D isometric game is kind of hard, but we support it. We basically just redraw everything as if the camera had been rotated 90 degrees, and I'm struggling a little bit with the matrix math. I just need to sit down and like math it out, but I don't like doing that. So you're doing some Odin game development stuff. That's cool. Do you watch Randy? Randy's got really good I think Randy's still using Odin. But Randy has got a lot of resources for that kind of C adjacent kind of stuff. I don't think they write their own graphics library, though. I think they do use a graphics library. I don't remember what, though. I don't watch Randy very often because it's they're not on at the right time for me. UIF. All right, this is a bunch of boilerplate. We're just gonna write this very quickly because it should be easy. There you go. Mixed feelings about the autocomplete here. Hey, Skywalk. Message retracted. Yeah, you watched some videos. He's working on a game called Terrafactor. Yeah, Terrafactor does look cool. I haven't followed it a lot. But yeah, Randy's got a lot of videos on Odin and doing game dev. More raw game dev kind of stuff in C. Just super cool. Very much not my experience. That doesn't really follow my background very well. So I'm kind of lost. So I kind of just watch it for fun. But it seems super good if you're actually doing that sort of thing. Okay, autocomplete's getting a little more confident. It's getting more confident that it knows what we're doing. All right, we got ads on the Twitch side. Don't worry, you're not going to miss anything. Because we don't really do anything. Easy. I don't think there are any null values. I actually don't think there are any null values in any of these other formats, but I guess there could be. So let's just write this in a way that's like resilient. Can I do this? No. Oh, that's pretty snazzy. Skywalker, a good programmer is a person who automated most of their job and do nothing. So we do things to do nothing. That's smart. True. Nightska. Yeah, not your experience either. You're a web developer. Just HTML and JS for you daily. You're doing it as a learning experience to try to distance yourself a little from the web world. No, that's super cool. That's like diving head. That's diving straight in. That's pretty great. I guess I could have added like a function to the actual format class itself that handled this, but I don't really want to do that. But I could, and I actually could hold that there. Huh. I might do this a different way in the long term, but we're just trying to get something going right now. Fix it later. I'm definitely still working out how our art workflow is going to look. This is all very similar logic here. We could handle better. That should be it. Kind of wordy for what it's doing, but should be fine. Getting a little nervous about how huge the tile system is becoming. Might want to break it out a little bit more. But that's kind of how I like to start. I like to start with big mono systems and then break them down as they're usable. or as they become, you know, more developed. Because modularity is good, but sometimes it's hard to figure out where the boundaries of that modularity should be until you've got something. I'm going to take the assert out. We're just going to say, instead of declaring this variable, we're just going to say map tile set atlas format. Pass this in. There's like nowhere to assert that. A suppressed nullable warning or assuming a variable is non-nullable might hide an underlying problem, I guess. Yeah, I gotta work on that. Right now it'll just yell at us if it's null. It'd be pretty obvious if it was null anyway. Everything would stop working. Okay. So I actually don't need these constant values that I defined here because we're not going to do that. I thought we might try to be clever and like just store an int and then like map the int or remap the int to a vector, kind of like the opposite of what we're doing here. Where we take the remainder for one coordinate and the whatever. Y'all know what I mean. Nightska, that's a thing you have a hard time doing. When do you think it's right to package a set of functions? Oh, I don't know. When I start to get annoyed having to look at it all at once. I think once I understand it well enough that I can put it away and not get confused. But I don't know. I do like thin systems. This is very much not a thin system, so we're going to do something soon with it. I also don't like having all these dictionary member variables, especially not these ones that we just made that are all based on the format. The format thing needs to be handled some other way. I mean, obviously the easiest thing to do would have been to just make the autotiler and the format the same, or the and the texture have the same formatting, but that would be weird and hard to do and inefficient, so we're not going to do that. Okay, so now we've got all of these mapped out. So if the atlas chord says I want, you know, I want to draw this one tile that should be here, now we have a mapping onto the actual texture. So we know which one we're talking about now. The only thing about that we still have to do is we actually haven't expanded the autotiler to include all of these use cases. Skywalk, you don't C#. You got bifocals. What's the question? Is vector 4i something I made, or is it a type in C? No, it's something I made. I wanted an integer vector class like Godot's, but because we're in C# and I kind of wanted to include my own utility functions and stuff in there, I kind of just made my own. Probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, but I didn't want to use Godot's because Godot's vectors are like classes, not structs. I think they're kind of weird. I have a hard time reusing stuff from Godot. Let me go find this thing. Oh no, it's a struct. But yeah, there is a Godot vector 2i. And I just kind of wanted my own. I probably should have just used this one though. There was some stuff I wanted to do, I guess, that would have been harder to do this way. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's mine. Honestly, my favorite thing about it is if I want to refer to like down or up or left or right, I just say X or Y or Z or negative X, negative Y or negative Z. There's some fun utility stuff I've added in here. I don't really use much of it most of the time, but I'm glad it's here. And it's helped. So like we do our own JSON deserialization. We defined our own JSON converter for a vector2i, which we needed to do. That was easy to do since it was my struct. All right, so theoretically, we should be able to swap in the new texture and it will kind of work. It will work in the sense that it should look as good as what we've currently got. It will be wrong in the sense of I haven't taught the autotiler about the new pieces yet, all the corner pieces and stuff, and that's going to be fun. We're going to have to teach the autotiler about those. So let's look at describe tile map data, which is what I called this new version of the function. So this new version of the function, so we aren't going to call it create deck, we're going to call it get, right? So we're going to substitute these out with get. Tile, we'll call it tile, not cell. Yeah, I'm kind of concerned about the process to teach the autotiler about the new tiles, which basically means coming up with the rules that govern when to use that tile or not. I think that's going to be annoying. It's honestly probably what we're going to do for most of the week, is just teach the autotiler about the new tiles. Because there's already a whole pile of tests. And the tests are for each. We've broken them up by Atlas chord transform. So like these are all the conditions that must be met if you want to increment the Atlas chord by 1. Here it is for 2. Here's Y for 1, Y for 2. Actually, I guess we do have to change these, huh? Because this isn't +1 anymore. Now this is +4. Oh man, we need to... Yeah, we need to change this. This is gonna be interesting. I honestly might rewrite this to an extent. Just to see if there's some simplifications. Well, we'll probably add to it at the risk of being overly complicated. The only other thing I need to do is I need to add in different versions of this. So right now this is the, I don't know why I call this the whole cube. I guess that's kind of what it is. I might call it the solid block or something like that. Have we finished setting this up in the engine? I think I haven't totally finished that. I also need to reorganize the project folder significantly soon. So this is the old T-Res. Where's the new T-Res? Actually, I don't think I've set up a new T-Res yet. That's fine. Oh, no, here they are. So I set these up per layer. I don't know if I actually want to do it like that in the long run. What do I call these? Mid? Okay. Called these full and half, and I called these mid and top. Ah, I see. This code for the tiling system is looking like it needs a rewrite, or at least you could add a message retracted. No, it needs a rewrite. It's pretty rough. It's straightforward in the sense that, you know, it defines each of these. Like these are conditions that need to be, these are like sub conditions. So it's like we need this condition and not this condition, and at least one of these conditions or whatever, this or this and this. It's a mess, but you know, it's pretty self-contained, and once it's written, it kind of just works. So yeah, so to an extent it needs to be rewritten, but also to an extent it's just like once we're sure that we've gotten full coverage, there's really not much more to do. Like I could hide this complexity somewhere, but I'm not sure if you can reduce the complexity of this, really. I can certainly hide it, but I only like doing that when we're at the end, when like we're done with it. Then shove it down, and I could call this whole thing like check atlas coord, and then put in like a vector, like check this side, like upper right side. Can we like drop the outline from the upper right side? If all of these conditions are met, then yes. Okay, yeah, your suggestion is call a function for each possible combination that returns a bool, like is on right side. Yeah, exactly. I like doing that, but yeah, I also like doing that when we're done. Make it easier to add and verify new checks. Maybe. That's one of those like clean code principles that like I like for aesthetic reasons, but I'm not convinced that it's like particularly helpful. Because again, it's like we can hide this series of checks behind a function call, but it doesn't change the fact that we're making all of these checks. Like, and so adding another condition onto this list is not any different than just going into the function and doing the same. Like, yeah, it's visually cleaner. We did that to an extent. I like doing that at certain levels. So right now we've done what you're describing at one level higher. So right now we're talking about like the conditionals for the outline of a given side, right? And right now that's just all dumped in here. One level higher, we have done the abstraction that we're talking about, which is when we want to get all the tile map data, we call this function describe tile map data. That goes through, and for each different kind of tile, we have a function for that, right? So we have hidden, because we don't want to just have, originally there was just, this was like an enormous switch statement, right? This is basically the same. This is still an enormous switch statement. Like the fact that it's only, you know, 8 lines kind of belies how complicated it is, because each of these functions has its whole own thing going on. But yeah, it does help because I can say, all right, what's the logic for getting our bulk X tile? Okay, it's here. Let's go look at that. And then so yeah, I could add, okay, well, what's the logic for getting the right side? Or for determining whether we can cut the outline for the right side of a bulk X tile. It's like, well, this is it. And I could have a function that says, you know, can can remove outline, can remove outline for, you know, and pass in like vector 1, 0 or something like that. But we can't even do that because it would be a function that's particular to the bulk X tile. So yeah, it's a little weird, but we'll get there. But yeah, you can abstract away complexity, but the complexity has to go somewhere, right? Like, it's just the question is whether you have to look at it all the time, I think. I don't know. I've definitely had phases where I overdid that, where I was like, we got to abstract everything away immediately. But I'm coming around to the other side where, like, yeah, when you're truly tired of looking at something, or you're like, or you're splitting something off into a module or something, it's like, yeah, do it. But while everything is still in flux, I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I feel conflicting pressures. And I think it's nice to talk about that. You agree the complicated thing needs to go somewhere? Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. Your point is actually probably the most important point, which is for you as a viewer coming in, you basically can't tell what my code is doing. Because it's just written so verbosely and like weird. Like, no, that's a super good point. And I actually don't think I'm waiting. I don't think I'm applying the appropriate weight to that part of the argument. I'm just thinking about it from my standpoint and from the code base. But that's actually a really good point, which is if you're hopping into the channel and you see some of this stuff, you're going to be like, what are we doing? What are we even doing here? And it would be good to simplify that for that kind of at a glance kind of look. That's a good point. I should focus more on it for that reason, if nothing else. All right, so what were we even doing? Oh yeah, I was checking the tile set atlases. So this is set up for the invalid. So I want this to be the fallback. I actually want to set these up in a way where if we don't have... So here's the thing that I'm not sure about. And this is something I just kind of need to try, is... So a tile set atlas source, we were reading this in the doc. Let me get the docs just as that might help. Let's get a tile set atlas source. So a tile set atlas source. The tile set atlas source is the thing that it's this thing. It's like the individual, where do we say? It's this texture, right? It's the piece of this here. So like this is invalid deck. Up here we have two. So this one just has one, but if we switch to this one, we've got two different sources. We've got the full wall, which you can see is very highlighted. And then we've got the half wall. So we've got two sources. So the way I understand it is these sources can only exist. If you build this source out, it can only exist once. So if you move this to another tile set, it will no longer be in this tile set, which is confusing to me, but that's what this said, I believe. Let me see if that's true. I thought it said something like that. Let's look at tile set to be sure. It was probably in here. told me something about the sets here that seemed important. Now I literally can't find it. DIGITAL is someone who has worked on probably over 100 different code bases written by other people. It's not usually immediately obvious what any non-trivial code base is doing at a glance. Usually takes a couple days to get comfortably up to speed, and you don't think the average viewer is looking too closely at actual code on stream, at least from your point of view. Yeah, that's generally, I mean, I try to keep the code legible, but it's true. I'm not sure what the barrier would be, or what the threshold of understandability would be, you know? But it would obviously help more if it was like, you know, can remove outline for this, can remove outline for this, can remove outline for this. Like having those be single line conditionals instead of like this horrible gnarl. Someone could at least understand maybe the intent behind a function, if not like, you know, the actual mechanisms of the interior. I think that would be good. Oh, tile set source. Is this what I'm looking for? Here it is. Okay, so there's a tile set source. I think this exposes a set of tiles for a tile set resource. Tiles in a source are indexed with 2 IDs. Okay, so this is a tile. So the tile set source is this thing, the invalid block full or the invalid block half. It's these interpretations. That's a tile set source, I think. And they can either be tile set atlas sources or tile set scene collection sources. This would be for like nodes. I think it was here. Here it is. Here's the warning. Tile set source can only be added to one tile set at the same time. Calling tile set add source on a second tile set will remove the source from the first one. This is interesting. So if there's a tile set source that's being used by multiple tile sets, that will not work. So part of me was thinking, let's have a tile set per ship. A tile set per ship means that we just swap out the tile set when you need to render a different ship. That could be annoying though, because that could happen a lot. The player could like move over to another ship and then back to the first ship quickly. And if we have to swap out the tile set completely, that could be very slow. I don't know if it is slow, but I would imagine that's slow because that sounds like a lot of synchronization with the GPU that would need to happen. Because you're like unloading and loading textures into the GPU for a whole tile set, which again is probably not much, but if it's something we can avoid, let's try to avoid it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have some kind of processor early on. DIGITAL public void black box game state everything. Yeah, honestly, that's how I have seen people write, like kind of the mainline kind of, the people that believe that a game should just have one main loop and then everything else is like secondary, which is kind of like what you see. I think that's kind of how you see like Jai is like very loop oriented. I feel like you do see stuff like that where it's like process, it's just like here's the main function that just takes the state, the entire game state, and passes it around, like does the whole thing. I think it's cool, but yeah, it's kind of silly. So yeah, I think we're gonna have a single tile set source, and I think we're gonna register tile set atlases. They're not called tile set atlases. So in the tile set source, there are textures. So yeah, I think what you're gonna do is you're gonna register different textures into one tile set source that is like, here are all of the tile sets that need to be used by the game now. Whether it's all the tile sets that you need to be used, we could probably do things during scenario loading and unloading, like when there's a new encounter. That's probably when we could add all the new assets that like let's say you're seeing a ship that you've never seen before with like a texture set that you've never seen before. When that ship loads in the encounter, that's probably when you would want to say, okay, let's add that stuff to the tile set. Because it's during like a loading moment. There's going to be some kind of loading thing. Whether you see a loading screen or not, it's different. You probably will just see your ship like warping in to wherever it is. Or something else will warp in where you are. That's probably when we could eat the cost of like synchronizing our tile sets. So yeah, so right now we only have one set of tiles, so I'm gonna just hard code everything, but I'm trying to do it in such a way where I'm at least, like right now we only have one tile set atlas format. But I'm trying to think about it in a way where we could handle different formats. Like someone uploads a mod, in their mod they wanted to use a different format, which is fine. Or maybe I use a different format. Maybe I make a new piece and I'm like, I don't really need all the stuff that this old format has. It's not really relevant. Oh, we actually will have different formats, won't we? Because we're gonna have grids. We have stuff that doesn't need outlines and that uses its own format. So yeah, we are gonna need to support multiple formats, and that's gonna be important. Maybe we even go so far as to build the tile set in real time when like we load the game and we load the files that are going to be used. I'm not sure about that. That makes me a little uncomfortable because of the texture origin that needs to be applied, which is like a little different depending on what it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe the texture origin would be the same for everything. We need to use a unified size is what we would need to do. We would need to have a unified size. And that would increase. Maybe we can make it work. Maybe we can make it work. Let's burn that bridge when we get there, as I like to say. All right. So what have I done here? So I think we're using the elastic levels as our test bed for this. So we go in here, level 0. Okay. So you've got the individual layers set up here. Okay. That's good. Oh, I'm muted. Who knows how long I was muted? Oh, I got someone to ban. We've got a spammer here. Let's load those photon torpedoes. Ban. Only a couple seconds. Cool. Yeah, I'm real quick on the mute thing. I almost do it subconsciously. He is dead, Jim. Good timing. Yeah, thanks to Shenanigans. There's a little tiny light in front of me that tells me if it's muted, but, you know, I'm not the most observant person. Shenanigans, you do that for small web games. You programmed Snake in about 150 lines of code as a single HTML file with inline JS and CSS. That's hilarious. But it pains you to work on systems that have otherwise irrelevant systems all mashed together. Yeah. Nightska, you're completely new to Godot, but it seems like the tiles are small enough. Couldn't you just load everything at once? Probably. But we're just writing this in a way that's very mod friendly. So we're trying to write this in a way where we don't know in advance, you know, all of the art assets that we're using. So I'm just trying to think it through in such a way that we could accommodate new stuff. So did I change? I did. So I've changed the anchor point of the tile atlases now. The anchor point used to be at the max position, but now it's in the center. That is something we have to account for. I'm not quite sure what the whole level new. Yeah, you're all in the center. Okay. Oh well. So we have the atlases set up, which is good. The doors I'm not super worried about, but let's get all of this in here. All right, so to get this to work, what we need to do the packer should be fine. Why did I do it in this order? This order doesn't make a ton of sense. Oh, no, I understand why I did it in this order. Okay. Okay. So if we're going to do this, we do this. We pass all this stuff through. Pass in this atlas information. So this would be a mechanism. We couldn't use an enum. If we support an arbitrary number of atlases, but what we could do for now is use the hull type. Yeah, we are currently using the hull type. So what we need to do instead, I'm going to remove support for these for now. And then so this one is... So deck X tile, your source ID. How do I pick this? It's not updating my view here. Show me the money here. The heck? Open. Oh, it literally won't. So I can't pick the file. I have to like pick a node that uses the file. Cool. That's fine. So it's just 0. Okay, 0. This is easy. It's just hard coded to 0 for now. Alt tile ID is always going to be 0 from now on. We're not really using it for anything. In fact, we could declare that early. I'm going to declare it in here. So then Z. Okay, so Z actually has 2 different levels. So Z, we need to know. So this is actually, we pick the source ID based on, we need to say hulls. If hulls.try get value key with W bulk C out hull. Oh, we should get this because then we can use this. Just gonna put it here actually. I don't know what happened to the music. Come on, Pretzel. Nope. We already listened to that one. Well, rip. Rip Pretzel rocks. Oh, there we go. So we just want to know if there is a layer here. And if there is, it's 1. Otherwise, it's 0. This is a little rough, but it's going to work for now. Kind of straining myself for the... Oh, no. We can do it like this. Never mind. All right, so for bulks, the full is 0 and the half is 1. Okay. So here we need to do a check. We need to say cutaways key.xyz.has cutaway.extents.half bulk. If it does, then source ID is going to be 1. Otherwise, it will be 0. It's easy. Oh. You can say cutaway. We don't need to say cutaways. We still call this mid when we're doing this? Yeah, we do. Okay. All right, doors. I'm not quite sure how we're going to support doors at the moment, so I might just avoid doing so. All tile ID is a -1. Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, the door I'm not looking forward to revisiting the door logic. But this should work so far. So we're setting the source ID correctly. Now we can work on the logic. So I actually think the decks haven't changed at all. I think I can just leave them the way they are. It is worth going through. So what would I do here? I'd have like a can remove. We could have like a private. We could have like a bool can remove deck X can remove outline. We'd have to specify like what layer. We have to say like tile dot layers layer tile dot layers or block dot layer. All right, come on, Pretzel. Having to manually advance the radio right now. I'm going to do that later, but I do have an idea for how to write a simpler outline checker that can work on specific layers. It's not going to be great. It's just going to... It'll hide all the manual work. Yeah. It'll hide all of the conditionals, but it's going to still look pretty gross, but we can at least hide most of it soon. All right, what else do we need to change? The hall data we're not using right now, but we do need to. So the actually, this is annoying. The source ID is actually going to be determined by both what kind of tile atlas it is and the hall data. I see a nested switch statement in our future, which again we could hide, but it doesn't change. It doesn't change what it is. Should someone send a disgruntled letter to Mr. Pretzel? Yeah, I think so. Although maybe nobody click on the Mr. Pretzel link. I don't know where that goes. That was an accident. Yeah, I think it will put a link. Pretzel can't possibly be like a top-level domain people can use or whatever that's called. There's no way. All right, so right now we're going to ignore the hull type, which is going to look very wrong. Why do I have this key debugger? I can't possibly want this. Oh, that's just if key equals vector 4i.0. Why do I have that in here? I was debugging something. I lost track of it. Thanks, Bart Lane. Yeah, we have a complex relationship with Pretzel Rocks. Sometimes it rocks and sometimes it does not. All right, so here's the deal. So the logic for the deck tiles don't change really at all. These are identical. The only difference is that we need to do the lookup at the end. So what we need to do here is we do all of this, and then when we get to here, we need to say deck X map atlas chords. So we do the translation here. Same thing here. Oh, actually, no, these have changed. These have changed, haven't they? It's the Z layer ones that haven't changed. The X and the Y have changed. The X and the Y are like this. They're organized like this now. That is very different. Well, hold on. Oh no, we do support corners. Has the way the autotiler looks at it changed though? I don't think so. I think the autotiler still thinks of it this way. Oh, it has changed. The X isn't different, but what's changed is the Y. So we need to compare this to the old one. It's the old one. It was +1 was this one, +2 was this, +3 was both. So now it's not like that anymore. Now it's +1 is this one. So it used to be +2 is now +1. Let's make these changes very incrementally here. So what was, so where we see y +1, we need to make that something else. So where it says y +2, that becomes 1. Because we've swapped it. It used to be we tried to remove the bottom outline first. Now we try to remove the top outline first. Sort of. I realize I've made a super weird coordinate system for our tiles. I think we have a left-handed coordinate system where up is -Z. That just feels bad, man. Yeah, it's kind of weird that it just looks for text.text and turns it into a hyperlink. That seems incredibly risky. That's probably why people like disallow links in chat. It's probably way too easy to accidentally link out somewhere. We aren't there yet. We don't need to do it. All right, so what used to be +1 is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this is a problem. I didn't think about this. It used to be what we could do is you could just say +1 and +2 gets you +3, but now it's 5. And the problem is if it's 5 and 1, that gives you 6, but that's not the correct coordinate. What you need is you need 9. How are we gonna get 9 from 1 and 5? I didn't think about this. I didn't think about how I was going to do this. We introduced more Y coordinates to handle the corners. That's just where I shoved the corners into, was in the Y coordinate, but I realize now that kind of breaks our system a little bit here. How do I want to do that? You know, I mean, if I had a 3D texture, I could have just used that, you know? I'm kidding. I know we could do it through. I'm not going to. That would be crazy. All right, so we could say, I really don't want to do it this way. So if it's just one of these, it's y +1. If it's two of these, it's y +5. If it's both of them, it's y +9. It's annoying. So let's finish this before I lose track of where I was. So this is y plus 5, and this is y plus 1. Problem is, if y ends up being 6, I could just write that logic here. I really don't want to do it that way. We say if atlas coords dot y. Oh, hold on. We can say atlas coords equals. Oh man. This is not good. This is not good. I made a mistake when I did this. I gotta think about how I'm gonna do it now. Because it used to be very easy. It would you'd just add it together and you'd get the correct result. And that is no longer the case because I've added this additional thing here. Also, why is this here? Put this over here. There we go. How do I want to do this instead? Because it used to be really easy. When you have a format like this, it's super trivial. I made it not trivial. Because here it's like, oh, if we're getting rid of that outline, it's just y plus 1. And if we're getting that outline, it's y plus 2. And if we've y plus 1 and y plus 2 gives us y plus 3. So we were able to make multiple independent judgments and arrive at a correct combination. And that's really neat. And now we cannot do that. Because of the way that these are compounded. Was there maybe a better way to arrange this? I don't want to change it, so I'm not going to, but I'm just thinking, could I have done this better? I could pretend there's a z-axis. And then it would just be one more thing to map. Yay, combinatorics. I know. So if I put the corners on the z-axis, it would work again. Then the problem is that the atlas coord thing we're calculating is at vector 3. And actually, I guess that's not a big problem, is it? Because we're still having to map it back, and we could just handle that mapping that way. I'd have to redo some work, but it would function. So what would that look like? Because yeah, I realize now this was very stupid the way I did this. And I should have used a third dimension to describe it. Because we could say.
I could die right now, Glenn. I'm just happy. I've never felt that before.
Okay, I really don't like the vocal samples in some of these. So these, we could use these. We could represent these as z offsets. So you could do is it could say x plus 1. Yeah, no, not the whispers again. No, I really don't like that. It's very prominent in lo-fi. Just weird, whispery dialogue. So yeah, we could say x plus 1 gets us to here. Y plus 1 gets us to here. You'll notice the dot in the corner, which means the corner is going to stay here. And then what we could do is we could say z plus 1 to get us to this one. And then we could say z plus 2 to get us to this one. And then z plus 1 and z plus 2 gets us here. Question is, does that work way down here? It doesn't. It's off-putting? Yeah, I agree. I might downvote this song just so that we don't hear that again. All right. I see a way to do this. It's going to take a vector 4. Because we need to represent upper corners and lower corners. How am I going to draw this? I know I just need to draw this as like an example of how this works, but I'm not sure. I guess I use multiple panes, and I name the panes something else, like Z+1, Z+2. All right, I'm going to try it. We're going to try this. We're going to try to describe this. I'm going to make a new file. This is really, I'm embarrassed that I'm having to do this. That I thought this through so poorly that we're having to do it like this. What we're going to do is we're going to call this frame. The frame. This is going to be like how we see this here. How much space do I need? 4 by 4. Oh, this is bad. I actually don't know how to draw this. I need like a hypercube. Okay. So we're trying to describe this kind of phenomenon here. I'll draw on the outside. This is why I haven't bothered to make a tool for this yet, because clearly I still don't know what I'm talking about in terms of what we actually need. I should have probably flipped this. I think this way it looks like an optical illusion in a funky way. Also, I messed this up. I'm going to put the frames on the inside. I've changed my mind. So let's just see if this works the way that I think this works. So here's our initial frame. Oh no, this does have to be on the... Oh, no, it doesn't. All right, we're doing like a hyper thing. We're doing like hyper chess here. We're visualizing higher dimensional objects. All right, let's just grab... I should probably just grab this, huh? This is a good representation of what we're trying to do here. Should I grab this one? I'll grab this one. No, I'll grab... Yeah, I'll grab this one. We're going to call this 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, now we're going to make another one. Actually, I have no idea how to render this out. Essentially what we're doing is... I might not render this out. This might be really hard to represent visually. Essentially what we need to do is we need to capture the possibility of corners being removed. And I'm thinking we're going to represent one section of corners. Or maybe we could... Maybe the mistake was to put this within this. Maybe I just need to order this differently. Let's look at this. Let's put a pin in this. Let's just make a new frame or a new layer here. Nix, you love how so far in your RimWorld colony you don't even know what grav ships are, but you already have 5 grav ship cores from traders and 76 grav ship panels. Oh, that's pretty good. All right, so we're gonna take this. Forget about this. Don't save. We're gonna take this. We're gonna figure out how to render this. Again, with the weird talking. We're gonna call this inner. Let's call this texture. That was the outline. I'm so annoyed that I got this wrong. It should be fine though. Just have to figure out what we want to do in response to this. So the way we have this now is like this. I want the version of this without... Oh no, I do want the dots. The way this is, it should be the default, should be the presumption that the corners stay. Because again, we don't want to, the combinations are already bad enough. What we want is the simple conditionals that build together to create a final product. Which means that as more of the conditions are understood, we just increment things. And then those add together in a way that's coherent. And that's our problem, is I arranged this in a way that's not coherent when you do that. Which is pretty embarrassing that that occurred. But you know, you do your best. All right, so here's the basic state, the basic case. The thing is, now with all these literal corner cases, we need to expand the options out into the full state space for these. And I see a way to do it with a vector 4. I just am having a hard time visualizing it. Because I would like to make a visual aid that describes, like, here's how this works. Problem is, it's higher dimension. It's higher dimensional. I think something like this works with this little frame thing. I think we can do this. Maybe that's how we do that. What if I make the frame like this? What if it just stays, so you get like a square. I do like this. And then we just have a second image that's the X, that's the ZW. So I'm going to call this layer, I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call the layer 1, 1, 1. So 1, 1. So we're going to take this object here. Actually, let's take the final one because the final one's the best example of this. So that's 3, 3. That's the fullest example of this. So if you take this object, what? Oh, that's not even on this layer. What layer is this on? Oh, on the, okay, whatever. I don't think I'm keeping this. I'm just trying to like scratch paper out the idea in my head. So you take this. So this happens to be 3, 3 from an XY standpoint. It represents a texture that's eliminated all outlines, all edgewise outlines, but none of the corners. And so if you have this mapped to a ZW, excuse me, and what you get, if you follow the same principle, you can get something like this. So you take this, you eliminate this one, you eliminate this one, and then you eliminate both. So that can be added the same way. You take this, or you take these, or you take all of these, I guess. And then you go down this. And then so here you do the same thing, but for the Y. So this gets erased, erased, erased. And then this one. And then both. Okay, cool. And now you can evaluate the individual. I know this is like the worst example because it's kind of hard to see what's happening here. Make this bigger, I guess. So it's more obvious what's going on here. So now you can make a series of independent conditional checks and arrive at, you know, a coherent final piece. This is the easiest example because all of these, every single one of these tiles is unique. There are no duplicates. And so we're going to use the ZW. All right, that's... Well, I guess I know what I'm going to be working on tonight. Rewriting this mapping. Okay, okay, we can accomplish what we want to accomplish here. Where is anyone ever seen that game? It's like called like Hyper Chess or something. Let me see, Hyper Chess. I don't know if this is what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the chess that's like multi-dimensional. It's like a you manipulate futures. Steam chess games. There's like some interesting chess games on Steam. I forgot what it was. It was like maybe it's called 5D chess. 5D chess. Yes, that's what it's called. 5D chess with multiversal time travel. I'm thinking of this. This is how I'm visualizing this in my head. It's this thing. Whenever I try to like render something that's higher dimensional in 2D, I'm like, just wait till it blows up here. It's gonna start going higher dimensional soon. Yeah, you start looking at like the history and you go back in time and then you branch off from that and you get these like, oh yeah, you start getting these trees of board states. This is what I think of. It's hard to map higher dimensional things in 2D, you know? It's doable though. It's just hard. Yeah, it's a fun game. Kind of too hard, in my opinion. Yeah, the time travel one. Yeah, exactly, Nix. All right, so I need to think of a way to represent this. I think these frame drawings are cool, but they don't actually help us with anything. How did I make a second layer? I'm so annoyed at how I managed to do this. All right, we're doing it again. I have an idea now about how to describe this. I'm going to make sure I do this correctly now with the correct layers. I say confidently. I thought we were done with this. I think everyone thought we were done with this part. Make sure I do this on the right layers this time. This should actually make it a little easier in the long run. But in the short term, this is going to be annoying. But this should be cool. There should be ways to early out when determining the atlas coords. Like, for example, like if x is 0, we have no reason to ever check a corner. So we can avoid a lot of the work. In a lot of cases. So like only if y equals 1 do we need to check the upper corners. Actually, no, never mind. Never mind. And then so what do I need to do? I need to make like I'm actually going to... I know these weren't supposed to be on the same layer, but I'm kind of tempted. Actually, no, I'm not tempted at all. I'm going to say frame 1, 1. You'll limit half paying attention in and out. Is what you're doing right now trying to figure out how you want your tile atlas laid out? No, I figured it out. Now I'm just trying to visualize it. So my mistake before, the mistake I did originally here was I just kept using Y. So you'll look, if you'll see here, here's like no outlines on the Y. And then you'll see this row is the top line removed. Visually, the top line removed, but the corners left in place. And then I have right corner removed for another increment of Y, and then left corner removed for another increment of Y, and then both. So we can make this the Z dimension. So instead of this being, you know, Y plus 2, 3, and 4, this would just be Z plus 1, 2, and 3. And then the combination works exactly the same as X and Y. It's just for pieces with corners, we'll need to consider the Z offset. And then for the ones with the bottom corners on the bottom side, we'll use W. And so that way we can do the same thing that we're doing for X and Y. We're just incrementally checking each piece, and then the combination of all those incremental checks together just naturally gives you the final coordinate you want. It's a little awkward that we're going to use a vector for it, but because this is like an indirect, like this is just how the autotiler thinks of it, we'll still have the translation step from the autotiler space into the actual tile atlas, which is fine because we've already done that part. We've already written the map. I need to rewrite it with the correct values. So I'm just trying to visualize that 4-dimensional coordinate thing. I'm going to stop calling it atlas coords because that is very far from what it is now. Makes sense? Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just want to be able to visualize it a little bit. Not because it's important to visualize it, but because it helps me. And I would like to have at least something that explains what that means. Maybe I just do it here like this. Maybe I do compress these just so that It's easier. Yeah, let's make a new layer. I'm gonna call this one just 0, 0. This is how we're gonna do it. Take all this, put you in 0, 0. Same thing here. Put you there. Delete these. Okay, so this is 0, 0. And then we'll make these ones don't need one. So I guess we'll just skip ahead to 1, 1. And so 1, 1, what we do is take this. And we put this. So basically we take each tile and we put it in the upper left corner for a different frame. So this is the 1, 1 tile. So 0, 0 is maybe not the correct. These are the XYs, I guess. I don't know. So 1, 1's here. And then what we do is we just do this. So Z is across and W is down. So what we do is we just take this piece, move it over here. We erase this, not erase, paint over. Put this in my drive here. I call it like auto tile mapping. I should probably call it the autotiler mapping, but whatever. You can visualize it by duplicating the whole group of tiles and then moving it off to the side, potentially put them in a box to differentiate, or a separate layer if that's helpful and easier. Yeah, I'm going with the separate layer route for now, but I might not in the long run. It might be better to do it on the same layer. I might actually do both. So I might make a new layer, call it 1, 1. And then actually what I might do is this. I don't know if I'm going to love the way this visualizes, but I'm going to try it real quick here. So I want to do this in a way that's like explainable, like what's happening. I did this line right. Pretty convinced that I didn't. That's what I thought. I don't know if that's terribly helpful, but this is what I'm thinking. This is not the best example because there's literally only one. It's this one. But I'm thinking something like that. I don't know if I need the projection. Projection is probably confusing. It's probably better if I just layer it on top. Thought it might be more clear if we do it that way. What if instead I do it like this? I think I'm getting too clever with the little line things. So what if we actually moved this to 1-1? To like the 1-1 position. We did something like this instead. I don't love that. I think it's better to just do it on top. Only thing is we would need a base layer here. We'd need like some kind of background layer that covers up everything else. So when we put the layer 1 over, we can just have it be like instead we move it like this. What? Yeah, I don't know about that. It's probably better to just do it like this. I just want like a guide Sorry, we've kind of come to a bit of a standstill here as I struggle through this. Needs to be done, but I acknowledge that it's pretty boring. So here's the XY. And then what we can do is on this layer. Oh, we need the background here as well. I use a different color. Oh my god, what did I do? Nice, that's a darker shade. What shade did I use? I can't even tell. Ah, here we go. think I'm getting there. And then so instead of X and Y, Z, what this will become a Z. What? It's kind of a janky Z. I think it illustrates the point. W. Okay, this kind of illustrates what I want, and then we can go through the layers of this. I think this is the simplest way I can illustrate this. I think I don't like the exterior box here. Well, maybe I do as a guideline. I think I like these maybe to move. Oh, but they can't. Oh, they could. Oh, they need to be bigger. Oh, whatever. Hey, Fusionist. How's it going? Let's duplicate this layer. 2, 1. Just got home. You're eating nice. What's new today? We made a realization that we kind of butchered something with our Atlas format, and we're trying to fix it now. A little embarrassing. So we're trying to visualize what we're doing here. I think I made this color too dark or too bright. It's better. It's easier on the eyes. Okay, I like that. I don't know if I like this box. Yeah, I think I just want to get rid of the whole box. If I really want to, I guess I could. Something like that. Yeah, the unfortunate thing is the way our autotiler works is it builds these things out by making simple checks, by making a large number of simple checks. So it says, okay, x plus 1 because we can get rid of the right outline, y plus 1 because we can get rid of the top outline, giving us a final product of this little guy. Problem is this little guy has a corner, and now we need to do a check about whether we can get rid of the corner. And so I represented these as just further increments of the y-axis, but that doesn't work because now we can't coherently add them together and get to the right number. So this branch needs to essentially be in a different axis. So this needs to be in the z-axis. So the z-axis number could be 0, 1, 2, it could either be 1, 0, like 1 or 2, and 1 and 2 together can make 3. And so you can be like, should we get rid of this corner? Okay. Should we get rid of this corner? Okay. Now we're getting rid of both corners without having to check. So the upper corners can be the Z component, and we'll need a W component for the bottom corners. And so I mapped this out using just 2 axes, and now I'm remapping it in my mind using 4 axes, which is harder to draw. How big is this? 96 by 96. Okay. Probably make that a little bigger. So now I'm just mapping that out. So it's like, okay, so here's 0, 0. Actually, I don't think this 0, 0 is correct. No, 0, 0 is fine. So if we want to look at the XZW mapping of tile 1, 1, we can just click this, and here's tile 1, 1. It's not great, but it'll help me, and it's not like this horrible monster, and we'll see. So we know what we need to do. I'm just visualizing it for the moment. What the heck? I'm doing the thing where I don't want to do actual work, so I'm just diagramming stuff. It's a classic maneuver. But I'll finish this up probably in my own time, and we won't have to worry about this tomorrow. I don't like this. Get rid of this. So now we can look at the ZW mapping of any tile. Calling this 0, 0 is wrong. I'm just going to call this base. Or I'm just going to call this XY. I don't know. 0, 0 is misleading, but I'm just going to leave it. Do I like the outline around the whole thing? I kind of do. All right, now let's take all of this, paste it into this thing. Oh. C is wrong. Or this Z looks terrible. I'm going to fix it. I don't like my Z's, but that's fine. It'll work. Yeah, we're starting slow for the beginning of the week here, I guess. Should be fine. After this, we gotta teach the autotiler about these new shapes, which will be fun. Okay, now I can just start duplicating layers. So we can call this 1, 2. 1, 3. Which ones do I need to actually do? I gotta do 0. I gotta do 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1. Ah, right. 2, 2. 3, 2. There's no super easy way to do this. It's kind of annoying. I think I'm just going to do this. All right, now I can just change these to be representative of the actual layer we're talking about. But yeah, it's just going to be a simple little flip book that shows the atlas chords for each thing. So like 1-1 has a mode with a corner and without a corner, but it only has one corner, so very simple. So it can only ever be Z plus 1. So I'll iterate through the rest of this in my own time. Not bore anybody with it. But yeah, I'm going to need to remap this to an extent. Luckily, the groups don't need to be remapped, but I do need to think about it differently. I gotta take the Y positions and break them up into the other two coordinates. But once we've done that, then it's gonna be really easy to just map from the auto tiler to the tile set atlas texture. Cool. Well, appreciate everyone hanging out for another kind of mind-numbing bit of work we're doing right now. I swear we're almost done with this, and when we are, it'll be nice. We'll have a very, very functional auto tiler that can handle all sorts of cases. It's going to do really good at outlining non-homogeneous surfaces. But it has taken us a while to get there. But I got to call it for today. I got a meeting in a few minutes here. This was nice. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad it was nice to hang out at least. Yeah, you too. Thanks, Fusionist. Only a couple weeks till down to jam. I am unprepared, but maybe we'll spend some time doing some jam prep. But yeah, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you all next time. No worries, Fusionist. Take it easy, y'all. Bye.
Maximum warp.